Clark said.
In his game maybe you would want to add to yours in the league?
Man, I think Luka. Luka's amazing and he's incredible. I think the way he can not only score the ball, but also the way he passes. And I think the thing about him is, like, he's not the fastest, he's not the most athletic, but he can get his defender to move where he wants him to go, and he takes up that space, and he does a really good job of either keeping the defender behind him or keeping him to the side. So I think that's something I can certainly learn from. Like, I always kind of want to run away from the defense rather than absorbing the contact and taking up the space that they give me. So I think, obviously, he's pretty incredible. He averages like a 30-point triple-double. So he makes it look pretty easy, but I can promise you it's not.
Pay close attention to what just happened there. Caitlin Clark just publicly declared that Luka Doncic is the player she's modeling her game after, the player she studies, the player whose moves she's trying to replicate. Now, that might sound like a normal basketball answer, except for one critical detail. Her head coach, Stephanie White, went on national television and said the Dallas Mavericks play better basketball without Luka Doncic on the floor. Think about that for a second. Your franchise player just told the world she's trying to become more like a player your coach thinks makes his team worse. That's not a minor philosophical difference. That's a fundamental disconnect about how basketball should be played.
So, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White, they are obviously player and coach for the Indiana Fever. Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark are two people that are most definitely going to be on the Indiana Fever next year. There is no way in hell that you fire Stephanie White before giving it a good go. There's no way in hell you do that, especially because there is absolutely, on a personal level, mutual respect from Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White. As well as that, I have no doubt about it that Caitlin Clark respects Stephanie White as coach. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that, because Stephanie White has been successful.
Here's the context everyone needs to understand. Stephanie White is a legitimate basketball mind. She's made 3 consecutive WNBA semifinals as a head coach. She won Coach of the Year. She led Connecticut to a WNBA Finals appearance and won the Commissioner's Cup with Indiana last season. Nobody's questioning whether she can coach basketball at the highest level, but there's a massive difference between being a good coach and being the right coach for a specific player. And that's the question that's been hanging over the Indiana Fever since the moment they brought White back. Is she the right coach for Caitlin Clark, specifically because what we're watching unfold here isn't about competence, it's about compatibility. It's about whether two basketball philosophies can coexist on the same team when they fundamentally disagree about what great basketball looks like.
Christmas. So it was right before Luka picked up that injury. The Mavs were flying, or maybe, sorry, no, it was just after Christmas. So up until Luka got injured, the Mavs were flying. I think they were the 2nd seed or the 3rd seed in the West. They were near the top of the West anyway. They were doing really well. Him and Kyrie were killing it. And Luka was looking like he was playing at an MVP level. Absolutely incredible. And obviously he got injured. And Stephanie White on a broadcast said that the Dallas Mavericks were much better without Luka because more people score and more people touch the ball. And the ball moves better without Luka.
Let's talk about that Stephanie White comment, because it's more revealing than most people realize. This was back in December, right before Christmas. The Mavericks were the 2nd or 3rd seed in the Western Conference. Luka was playing at an MVP level, absolutely destroying teams alongside Kyrie Irving. They were one of the best stories in the NBA. Then Luka got injured, and while he was out, Stephanie White went on a broadcast and said the Mavericks were actually better without him because more players touched the ball and the offense moved more fluidly. More ball movement, more players involved, better team basketball. Now, on the surface, that's a defensible basketball philosophy. Motion offense, ball movement, everyone touches it, no one dominates. That's how the Spurs won championships. That's how the Warriors built a dynasty before Kevin Durant arrived. It's legitimate basketball. But here's the problem. It's the exact opposite of how Caitlin Clark plays basketball. And more importantly, it's the exact opposite of how Caitlin Clark should play basketball.
I think Luka's the player she's most similar to, because I do believe that in the full court, she's most similar to a Halliburton. But you can tell that Caitlin Clark likes to dominate the ball. And the way she works best in the half court is not through a motion offense, not through being an off-the-ball player, not being Stephen Curry. And because, by the way, Caitlin Clark is as close. Saying Caitlin Clark is Stephen Curry is like saying Trae Young Stephen Curry. Like, she's nowhere near. I wouldn't say she's anywhere near Trae Young, because, like, she's much like if she's Trae Young, if Trae Young was 6'7", like that's what she's equivalent of. She is the height of a small forward. Like if Trae Young was 6'7", but if Trae Young was 6'7", we'd be talking about maybe like the best player in the world. So yeah, maybe she's taller than Trae Young as is. But if you guys didn't hear today, this is what Caitlin Clark said.
In his game, maybe you would want to add to yours in the league?
Man, I think Luka. I mean, Luka's amazing and he's incredible. I think the way he can not only score the ball, but also the way he passes. And I think the thing about him is, like, he's not the fastest, he's not the most athletic, but he can get his defender to move where he wants him to go, and he takes up that space, and he does a really good job of either keeping the defender behind him or keeping him to the side. So I think that's something I can certainly learn from. Like, I always kind of want to run away from the defense rather than absorbing the contact and taking up the space that they give me. So I think, obviously, he's pretty incredible. He averages like a 30-point triple-double. So he makes it look pretty easy, but I can promise you it's not.
Listen to how she describes what she wants to learn from Luka. She's not talking about catch and shoot threes. She's not talking about moving without the ball like Steph Curry. She's talking about controlling space, absorbing contact, keeping defenders on her hip, using her body to create advantages even when she's not the most athletic player on the floor. That's heliocentric basketball. That's one player controlling the pace, dictating the defense, making every decision. That's Luka. That's Trae Young. That's James Harden in his prime. And whether people want to admit it or not, that's Caitlin Clark at her absolute best. She's not Steph Curry. That comparison needs to die because it's lazy and it's wrong. Steph is the greatest off-ball guard in NBA history. He sprints around screens, relocates constantly, creates chaos through movement. Caitlin is 6 feet tall with the ball handling of a point guard and the vision of a quarterback. She's a high-usage, high-leverage player who makes everyone better by controlling everything.
Like, Steph Curry is this off-the-ball mover, came into the league as a 2-guard, is actually a point guard. Like, Caitlin Clark's like a Halliburton-type point guard. It's mad. She is nothing. She shoots from far. She's nothing like Stephen Curry. Two favorite players, respective leagues. Caitlin Clark and Doncic get more hate from keyboard warriors. I mean, Jimmy High Roller is single-handedly saving Luka Doncic's legacy. It's always funny. There's nobody that's blocked me. Nobody blocked me. Actually, I got hit in the Angel Reese block wave yesterday. For what reason, I don't know. I haven't tweeted about Angel Reese in months, other than dunking on people with Angel Reese in 2K. But yeah, I got hit by the block wave yesterday. But yeah, it is one of those things where people watching Shea tape. Caitlin Clark does not have the body control to be Shea. I mean that. She doesn't have... There is... For lack of a better word, like she doesn't have the shiftiness. Like Caitlin Clark, her athleticism is stop-start. The constant go, 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 go. Like Caitlin is a relentless pace.
And this is where the philosophical clash becomes a real problem for Indiana. Because if you're Stephanie White, you've built your entire coaching career around a specific style of basketball. You believe in ball movement, player movement, everyone eating, everyone touching. You've won with that system. You've made finals with that system. But now you've got a generational talent who doesn't fit that system. A player who's at her best when she's got the ball in her hands, pushing the pace in transition, controlling the half-court offense, making every read herself. A player who just told you, publicly, that she's trying to become more like the exact player you used as an example of bad basketball. So what do? Do you change your entire philosophy to maximize your best player? Do you force your best player to adapt to your system? Or do you try to find some middle ground that satisfies nobody and maximizes nothing? Because based on what we saw last season, Indiana tried option 3, and it didn't work.
I don't think she will. Luka's too big and strong, finishes too well at the basket. And I still think that Caitlin, her peak is a... Like, I don't think Caitlin's ever going to be the best half-court player in the WNBA. I don't think that's a thing that's going to happen. I think Caitlin is looking at these players trying to get better. I think as much as anything, what we saw from Caitlin as a rookie All she needs to do is be better at going left and taking left-hand layups, be a little bit better at shooting going right so that she's the threat, and get a little bit better on defense. And that player, with the right players around her, is the best player in the world. Like, I think she was close. Was close enough as a rookie to be the best player in the world that you don't need wholesale changes to her game, which I think she tried to make coming into her second season. And it was the biggest problem when I remember talking about the Angel Reese workouts. I was like, the problem I felt with the Angel Reese workouts was that she was trying to build Rome in a day, and she came into last season still unable to score layups. Like, she was spamming this dribble, hezzy, sidestep bullshit.
Here's what actually happened during Caitlyn's second season and why it matters. She came into the year trying to add too much to her game too fast. She was working on playing off the ball more. She was trying to improve going right. She was focused on defense. All good things in theory. But what happened? She came out slower than her rookie year. She was missing open layups she made as a rookie. Her finishing around the rim was inconsistent. She still didn't have confidence shooting going right. And most importantly, she looked like she was thinking too much instead of just playing. The comparison to Angel Reese's development is actually perfect here. Angel spent her entire offseason working on sidestep threes and hesitation moves, posting workout videos of advanced offensive skills. Then the season started and she still couldn't make layups consistently. She was shooting that sidestep move at 25%, while her fundamental finishing was still broken. You can't build Rome in a day. You can't skip steps. Caitlyn needed to master going left, finish consistently with her left hand, get comfortable shooting going right, and tighten up her defensive rotations. Those incremental improvements, stacked over a full season, turned her from all WNBA second team into Instead, she tried to reinvent her game, and
So it's one of those things where she basically said the player that she looks at is the player that her coach specifically thinks is a net negative. The player her coach thinks is a net negative is like, yeah, I'm trying to be that player. Let's look at the comments. Try to get her to watch Shea tape. Is she more like Luka Doncic? Caitlin Clark is nothing like Stephen Curry. Like, not even remotely close to Stephen Curry. They don't play anything alike. Like, it's like saying, I'm trying to think of just a comparison to Stephen Curry. It's like saying Jimmer and Stephen Curry played anything alike. Jimmer just comes off screens and shoots from third.
So let's bring this full circle. Caitlin Clark just told the world she wants to play more like Luka Doncic. She wants to control space, absorb contact, dictate pace, make every read. That's not a subtle hint. That's a direct statement about the player she believes she can become. And her coach's most famous recent quote about basketball is that the Mavericks are better without Luka Doncic because the ball moves, more and more players get involved. Do you see the problem? This isn't about respect. Caitlin clearly respects Stephanie White as a coach. White has the resume, the experience, the championships. This isn't personal, but respect doesn't solve philosophical differences. Respect doesn't change the fact that player and coach have fundamentally different ideas about what great basketball looks like and how Caitlin should be used. Indiana has a decision to make. Not this season, probably not even next season, because you don't fire a coach after 1 year with a generational talent. But at some point, if this disconnect continues, if Caitlin keeps trying to become Luka while her coach keeps preaching ball movement and team offense, something's going to break. The question isn't whether Stephanie White is a good coach. The question is whether she's the right coach to maximize Caitlin Clark specifically. And based on what Caitlin just said, based on the player she's trying to become, I'm not sure the answer is yes, because you can't have your franchise player publicly saying she wants to play like a guy her coach used as an example of what not to do. That's not sustainable. That's not a foundation for a championship. That's a ticking clock on a coaching change that everyone can see coming except the people making the decision. So here's my question for you. If you're running the Indiana Fever, do you build your offense around Caitlin's strengths and let her be Luka, or do you force her to adapt to a system that's won before but might not maximize her talent? Because you can't do both. You have to pick one. And the longer Indiana waits to make that choice, the more time they waste of Caitlin Clark's prime. Drop your answer in the comments. Should Indiana change their system to fit Caitlin, or should Caitlin adapt to White's proven system? Because this tension isn't going away, and eventually, someone's going to have to win this argument.